Welcome to Negotiating Happiness, the show that helps you find happiness, success, and balance in your work and life. I'm Adriana, your host for this journey into entrepreneurship and personal growth. We're broadcasting live on 107.7 and 105.3 FM in New Orleans as part of the United Public Radio Network. We explore the latest strategies, insights, and stories from successful entrepreneurs and experts. From managing stress to building a thriving business, we've got you covered. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Adriana. I'm your host of Negotiating Happiness, and today is November 11th. It is Remembrance Day here in Canada, so I just wanted to take a quick second to acknowledge that. Thank you, everybody who is tuning in today. We are live on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. If you wanted to sit back and watch some of our shows on Roku TV, you just have to look for UFO Paranormal channel. And I have here today the lovely Michelle Desrochers with me. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm well for a Monday. It's good.
It's been a slow crawl today, very slow. So thank you so much for coming on today. I'm just going to do a quick little bio here so that everybody that's tuning in, grab your coffee, grab your lunch. If you wanted to crawl slowly with us today on this Monday, it would be a good episode to listen to. And if you can't make it through the whole thing, just remember that you can always go to our archives and listen to it later as well. So today we will be chatting about running a successful business without being chained to a desk or an office space, which is hilarious because here I am chained to this desk right now, right? But basically away from traditional environments, which is kind of my jam. It's what I love to do. So just in case you guys didn't know, Michelle is a producer and host on the network as well. And she is on Wednesdays and Thursdays on the Outer Realm Radio. I've talked about it before, so we'll get into that as well. So thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule to come on. But if you guys don't know who Michelle is, she is an international public figure who's been professionally and actively researching the unexplained and successfully working in the media for the past 2 decades, with her area of study focused primarily in the field of the obscure. My favorite. She's highly versed in many subject matters within her field, and she's often called upon by the media to advise, create, consult for television and other media as well. She is the creator and producer to the very popular radio show, The Outer Realm Radio, which boasts millions of international live audio listeners per night. She has a vast knowledge of many topics, which leaves her with a diverse spectrum of creativity, which is beneficial in her work. And she's also a very seasoned entrepreneur. So I can't wait to dig in today. So typically, Michelle, we just start out with your entrepreneurship journey. Tell us a little bit about how you got to be here.
Well, I have been managing companies since I was 18 years old. And the first company I did manage went from, doing a certain amount of work to I just expanded it within a month. And they couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it because it tested my own boundaries. I really wasn't sure what I was doing. I sort of just got upgraded into this position and I just ran with it. So I went on, of course, to, but things that people don't know about me is I went on to work for the government of Canada. Sure did. And I ended up having an oil company, just family owned and operated. And again, for 30 years, and it did not hinder my life. I still traveled, wherever I wanted to travel. I was still able to run that company, no problem. And I also ended up with a media company in there and consultations, which I could also do from anywhere in the world. I was not chained to a desk. And even now, I don't chain myself to a desk. Most people who know me know I'm always constantly running, and I am forever with a tablet, or my phone has a bigger hard drive than my computer. Just saying. Right. So I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Adriana. You're up.
Oh,
yep.
There we go.
Also,
said,
I'm also manager here in a public radio network, so I'm doing tech control.
you know what? I mute the microphone sometimes when I'm typing out the comments so that you can't hear the clap, 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 clap. What I was saying is I'm no stranger to working from a phone, right? So, and it's funny because Michelle and I have traveled together before, so I get to see her in action, exactly how she's describing it. So that's super super truthful. We like to talk about the good and the bad here, right? We talk about the good parts of the entrepreneurship and the bad ones, but my favorite, which you might agree with me, is that you're able to be so flexible and able to be there with your family, right?
I think it's always been important because I've had, when my children were younger, my former husband at the time would go out and work in the field, and he was a certification behind everything, and I literally managed everything. I technically owned the company, and everything fell on me. And it really didn't stop me. I would be running around, and even if it was at the time, going back, you think 30 years of owning a company, we didn't have the technology that we have now. For example, we had, if you had a fax machine, that was like, whoa, jeepers, this is technology right here. So that would save on nothing. I could fax an invoice. I don't have to put it in the mail. So
amazing.
Right? You grow with technology. And I have to say, technology, love it or hate it. I've always been one that loved it, or I love to hate it. Like it's one of those love-hate relationships, because when it works, it's fantastic. When it doesn't work, when you're in the middle of a haunted forest up in Romania, and you're in the circle looking for a signal, going, I just need the signal for 2 minutes. And you find it, and you sit in that spot and just answer your emails. And you get back to the hotel, for example, and everything's going on in the room. And, your friend looks at you and goes, are you seeing this right now? And the phone's going off by itself. And I'm like this going, I need to get this text out or email. You make it work.
Yeah. And it's funny. I think a lot of people have these blocks around what they can do, or these like limiting behaviors. So yes, while you're out, traveling, it's your field that you're in that's allowing you to do a lot of the consulting and the creating, and actually going and visiting those places is a great way to research, right? So a great deal of research would have gone into these trips. I think people just don't know how to envision it in order to make it work for them. So what did you do early in your career that set you up to be able to do this? So obviously technology played a big part in enabling you to do it, but in your entrepreneurial mind, what is it that you decided early on and that just you made it happen for your life that way?
Well, I was very fortunate because media came to me. I didn't have to go looking for media. It came to me. So I met a lot of interesting people along the way who, in turn, I had good producers to work with. And then when they started coming to me, for content, and they actually cared about my opinion. So I think you need to really verse yourself. I've always been a researcher. I have always been a student. I have always loved learning. I have a great love of history. I have a great love of the obscure, as you say, high strangeness. I always make it a point of learning all the time. There isn't a day that goes by where I'm not researching something and something hasn't come up. And I could say, okay, I think the more you make yourself invaluable, you are your most important commodity. So the more you can make yourself invaluable, and the more you can put yourself out there and as being invaluable, then that's the key. That's what it was for me, was the constant building of my knowledge. And whenever a producer, I mean, I've consulted, with production companies and film houses all over the world, who have said, okay, well, we're looking for this. Do you know people who can do this? Well, luckily I do. I know a lot of people because I've been in the field for 20 years, and you keep meeting people, and you keep, the outer realm has actually helped a lot with that, because as I bring guests on, and we're like, okay, obviously I go not just to guests who interest my my listeners or our listeners, because
Mhm.
Amelia and I were always looking for people. Amelia
Yeah.
Pisano, for those who don't know it, or the Outer Realm. And, I want somebody that I can learn from as well. And we always learn from our guests also. It's not just you guys, but we're learning with you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really important what you said. There's consistency and you're always putting in the work. So, what I'm hearing is that you made yourself an authority by putting in the work, the time, the experiences, the documenting it, the research, and having these, you're basically networking, right? And I say this all the time to anybody that's, running a small business. I think your network is, it's a really cheesy saying, your network is your net worth, but it's true. It's whoever you're surrounding yourself with, whoever you get to know is going to help you along the way, just like you're able to help them. It has to be a give and take. It can't just be like a take, right? But so in your travels, I guess tell me about some of your favorite places and why. I know you love to talk about it. Me too.
I do. I've been really fortunate. I've seen many different places in the world, and Egypt was always one of my one of the first bucket list things. And the more I meet people, the more like, I just want to go to Egypt. I guess there's something about going back to the real ancient roots. And I wish I had known then what I know now about it, because the trip would have been a lot different,
Right.
But I mean, you've traveled with me to some of these places. We've been to Romania, we've been to Scotland, we've been to the south of France.
Yeah.
I gravitate.
We've been to the States too a bunch of times.
States, I know.
Yeah.
It's true. But I mean, let's face it. We go to places that interest us or where we feel drawn to. And I mean, we've had a lot of adventures, but I've had great adventures, even like long before that. But again, going with a different mindset. Now I'm kind of like going, man, if I would have done this differently, I would have done this differently. And, but it's good.
But also even from my time traveling, I think traveling earlier on, like, 10, 20 years ago is very different than traveling now, right? Obviously, the level of research that we do is different, and it's better in terms of information, but even what you're allowed to do, right? Especially in Egypt, I think a lot of people used to be a lot more liberal about their behavior when they were around these amazing artifacts, whereas now I don't think they're allowed to do a lot of those things anymore, right?
Can't climb the pyramids.
No.
Well, I couldn't do it then either, but I did.
Right, because there's nothing there to stop you or whatever.
No,
right?
You could really pay your way through a lot back then.
Right.
I had the whole pyramid to myself for at least a good half hour, 40 minutes.
Amazing.
I wish I had made better use of it, though.
Well, hindsight, right? Hindsight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just, that's what happens when you're dealing with a country that's very, very poor. Like $20 Canadian pays at the time was like a month's rent. So it's just like, you want half an hour just to take a few pictures, by all means.
Right.
So it's just like, now, no, you're right. Now it's a whole different scenario. But now you can actually do tours. See, let's talk entrepreneurship. There are people who love to travel, and I've been asked to do this, and I've never really taken advantage of it, where you lead a tour and you bring a group of people with you. I have friends who do this in the south of France, for example. Another one of our hosts on the network, Bart Sharp, does the Mary Magdalene tours in the south of France. It's spectacular. Amazing. I know.
Yeah.
So I live in France for 6 months of the year.
I know. That's amazing. Yeah, no, I have a client, and she does really real authentic Italian tours. So she goes to, she'll go to the nonnas that will teach you how to make proper gnocchi and all of these different little hidden gems, right? So it is a whole other industry, a whole other business, right? That you can start off with that. But it really helps that you have the experience, right, to rely on and to say what's realistic and what's not. But yeah, the south of France was beautiful when we went to. We had really good weather too. So
good pizza.
Yeah. Good pizza. Yeah, that was really good pizza.
I know.
Yeah. No.
No, but we were very fortunate. We were very fortunate, and
Yeah.
it is it makes you realize, because I have another friend who moved to another country. I believe it was Malta. I've had two friends move to Malta actually, and they're
Yeah.
still running their businesses that generated here, both of
Mhm.
them,
Mhm.
and they've taken it over there, and it's just an example of live where you want to live. If you can
Yeah.
have the type of business that you can operate from anywhere in the world by taking advantage of networking and, again,
Yeah.
technology, and getting yourself a really good community of people within your community, the sky is the limit. You're
Yeah.
not limited to your desk, your house, your country.
Yeah.
Really, you're not.
Yeah. And with a little bit of planning, you can really get around most of the reasons why people don't think it will work. So whether it's time zones, whether it's, oh, what if you don't have access to the internet, whatever the case may be, I promise you that there's a solution. I
Mm,
promise you that if you look hard enough, or if you have a backup. And also, just to give you an example, I went to Romania this past summer, and I think I paid, I don't know, $35 for the month to have unlimited data on my phone, which I could connect to my laptop at any time and hotspot it. So even
mm,
if like the Wi-Fi wasn't working, I had data. If my
mm,
laptop wasn't working, I had my phone. There's just always a
mm,
way around it. And being in a place that respects your time is much easier to live in, because it allows you to respect your own boundaries. So you will see in Europe, right? Meal times are respected, and
um,
it's mealtime. You're socializing with friends and family.
mhm,
People aren't sitting there on their phone answering emails. So if you think that you're always going to be changed to something, it means you're not planning
mhm,
it well enough, or you just
mhm,
don't know, right? But that's
mhm.
amazing that people build these businesses and they take it overseas. I heard Malta is beautiful. One of my best friends is Maltese, so she keeps posting on
Yes,
her story all of these different, reels, and it's an island, so it's beautiful,
it
right?
is.
So I'm
Yes.
like you're not making this any better. I just want to go.
I know. And do you know that apparently it was just voted to be one of the only countries in the world, like the country that will excel the most in 2025, whereas a lot of
Wow.
countries are falling back.
Yeah.
Little Malta is going up,
Yeah.
up, up.
Amazing.
Up.
They
And
were
guys,
saying the same thing about Iceland's economy is
yes.
is set to outpace everybody's in the world for the next year, I think. And guess why? They went down to a 4-day work week.
Say,
It
well,
can be done, people. It
it
can
can't
be
be
done.
done. I
Yes.
think Germany has done that for years and years. There've been other
Yeah.
countries that do that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it
And
makes
it
perfect business
just
sense.
yes, but it just shows that you don't need to stretch out your time over 5 days when you could be more productive by having focused time in the span of 4-day period. And please tell me that the other 3 days won't make it worth it for you to be with your family, to have some work-life balance. You step away from your work for 3 days, and then when Monday rolls around, you're refreshed, or
Mhm.
whichever day that may be for you, right?
Well, you have an extra
Sometimes
day to spend the money you're making as well, which also goes back into the economy.
right, right. And people
So,
have more time to plan
yes,
things, to do things
yes.
with their families, to
Mhm.
I just think that in North America we have this sense of the more you work the better, and I think that just takes out any other factors that might come in, which is
Yeah.
efficiency and quality and just a break, just having a break. Your brain's not supposed to be on
It's
24/7.
not, and it hinders your creativity
Mhm,
as well. You're
mhm.
overworked. There are some families who, you're working 2 jobs because, things are so expensive. I get it. And then you have children who
Yeah,
are, I'm in soccer, I've got homework. So you're coming in from a long day at work, and now you've got to have dinner, take the kids to soccer, come back, do
yeah,
homework, or vice versa. And then
yeah,
you, by the end of the day, you drop and you repeat. Next day, you
yeah,
repeat, you repeat, you repeat. So
exactly.
I think there are a lot more people who are looking at entrepreneurship and trying to find
Yeah,
something over and above, make that
yeah,
second job something for yourself if you're in that position, because not everybody can be in a position where they can be like, okay, I'm going to start this new business, because you still have to pay the bills. And sometimes that business or your personal income goes to fund that business. And it's, again, another cycle. So you need to make sure it's something that you can carry. If it's a service, as opposed to, let's say, a storefront, if it's something that you can do from home and not have to put a big expense out to, you start generating some income, that is the ultimate goal, right? Eventually, maybe you can get to a point where you can, the entrepreneur business becomes the main source of your income.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, it's kind of like what you're doing. You're building something that you're interested in. You're putting in the time. You're becoming more of an authority on the matter, and then you get the attention of people, and then you do things that will progress it. But you have to be consistent. So, for example, sponsorships, right? Like, you have a lot of experience with that. So, if somebody is in that position where they have some sort of following or are working on their audience, what is a piece of advice that you would give them when it comes to actually monetizing it and making it work? Because that will eventually fuel their dream of going forward and developing it into something else, right? Something bigger.
So you're talking about, for example, radio or
any kind of sponsor. There's a lot of influencers that do make money. We live in Canada, so we don't have creator funds, or especially not for all of the apps, right? So whatever we do on our own, right? So you, speaking from your experience, right? What would you what piece of advice would you give somebody that is looking to monetize their content or their channel?
Well, this is sort of the first time that I've been on the receiving end of that, because I've actually been the one to usually sponsor, let's say like an event or something like that. But I think, when it comes to monetization, it's a really hard one, because some platforms don't make it easy. Well, you need to have, we'll say, YouTube, for example, you need 1,000 people.
It's
you need
hard
to have so much content, so much this, so much that. So what I say is go to Rumble, because Rumble starts to monetize immediately. Immediately. I think I have enough for a Frappuccino, but I haven't been on it for long. So, I know.
Amazing.
I was just like, all right. I know. I messaged Amelia the other day, says, okay, we got halfway to a couple, but it's, I think it's important. Look for the ones that give you monetization immediately. Patreon's another good one. Look to that. Takes a bit of work, but do your homework, because you don't want to put all your work into a platform if you're in a country that will not be monetized. Substack is another good one, but do your research there. I'm going to use just radio and podcasts as an example. There are millions, maybe billions of podcasts, because you have the internet. Anybody can have a podcast, and there's a lot of phenomenal podcasts out there, a lot of phenomenal radio shows. And there's a lot of people out there who will call themselves a network, and you can, if you're a podcast network, if you're a film network, but a radio network is a bit different. UPRN has obviously 2 FM bands. So we are FM as well, but we're a podcast edition of that. And from what I understand, UPRN is one of the oldest out there, because it's about 25 years old. And started streaming on places like Skype and things like that, right? I mean, we have a guest or a host on our network who started off, it was a text messaging kind of show. I know, amazing. And it was huge. Like our network owner, Joe Montaldo, was like, no, you need to come onto this network. Is why I got a real good thing going. And he did. So he's been on here for probably 15 of the 25 years. Wow. It's been a really long time. He's one of our veterans, So, and then when you work in a situation like this, then yes, you can go for, you have sponsors and you have advertisers. Advertisers is more along the lines for the FM side of things, because it's just priced out differently. You don't get to, you're not in the same situation, like let's say a podcast. And remember this, guys, when you have a podcast and you're looking for a sponsor, your archives, in our case, goes to over 200 different archive sites. That company or that brand is going to be there forever. So when you are, when somebody says, well, we're doing you a favor, I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe it's an even keel, because we are bringing you to 200 different archive
Mhm.
sites. In
Mhm.
some cases, Roku TV, and now with social media, all these platforms that are allowing you to stream to them, there's a lot. There's a
We're
lot.
everywhere. We're
Yes.
everywhere. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on Spotify. We're on iTunes. You name it. If you look at the banner when you guys are looking at our shows, you'll see some of the logos on there. They go everywhere
It is.
under the network name, and I say that to everybody, and it kind of, it's almost like people don't grasp it, right? So
Mhm.
my advice to anybody who's looking to do this is have a media page on your website that explains these things, that has some stats on there, that has some direct links to some of your content so that they can grasp what kind of show it is or what content you're putting out there, and that will definitely help. We did have
Mhm.
a few really good comments
Mhm.
here. Michelle was speaking about, what kinds of businesses you can go for. I have a friend that did exactly that, Michelle. And she started a cleaning business, and she's very successful with it. It doesn't have to be fancy. Doesn't have to be a lot of overhead on it. You just have
Mhm.
to have the drive and to kind of plan it out for yourself, right? And it's true, networking is where you get the most referrals. I find that myself as well. But here's the funny part is, once people went through the pandemic and had, more time online and figured they could do a lot of that stuff online, which we've been saying for years, right?
Mhm.
They started networking online a lot. Now that, the world's open again, I'm actively trying to go to a lot more in-person meetings, because I find that the rate of closing, so to speak, or conversion rate, what you would call it, is every network event that I've gone to,
Mhm.
eventually, whether it was right away or months later, I've gotten a project out of it.
Mhm.
Because it's so much easier to have that connection, because people buy from you, right? That's why, Michelle, I'm sure you can relate, when you're meeting with these,
I
creators
can,
or producers.
and that's the downfall of technology in a way,
Yeah.
is there's you
Yeah.
do lose that, like you say, that one-on-one where people, because everything is automated now.
Yeah.
You don't,
Yeah.
and people like, I want a real live person.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
when you're doing exactly that, you
Yeah.
are making those connections.
Yes.
They're warmer if it's human.
Yes. And also, we're personal brands, because if you were
Yeah.
talking about a corporate brand, like, we're not talking about, giant corporate names over here. You're talking about Michelle Desrochers, you're talking about even Ontario Assistant. It's a personal brand. My face is everywhere. I'm the one that talks to people. I'm the one that, deals with the clients. And we're not a giant corporation. They want to know who they work with. They want to know who's going to be answering the phone. They want to know who's creating their content for them. They want to know that person. So put yourself out there, right? And it's different as well if you have products versus services, or if you have a combination. But I think the advice stands of
Mhm.
try and make those connections with people, right?
Mhm.
And Michelle had another comment here, Michelle, on YouTube. She said, it's really tough on pay for video views. They have subscriptions and people can gift you. It's tough to navigate. It is. It is.
Mhm.
And they do that because these giant platforms that can already afford to pay creators already have a following. So they're not trying to get more people to use their platform in, a casual way. They're trying to get you to work on overdrive to create the best kind of content for them. So they
Mhm.
do this on purpose, because it's only a select few that'll actually make all the thresholds that they're putting in place. YouTube is one of them, where it's very hard to monetize, right?
Mhm.
And I know you get all these, I hate this, and I talk with my business friends all the time, of the how to make six figures on YouTube. All you have to do is this one thing. And you're like, oh my God, like,
Not
this
no
is part of the
science.
marketing, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, this is
Yeah.
part of the marketing, people. This is part of the
Yeah.
hook. Don't, I hate that. I hate that so much. Or when I first started out, Michelle, as you know, like, as a virtual assistant, I hated getting these on my feed. It was all about how to make, 6-figure months or 5-figure months, coaches and whatever else. And you're like, okay, be like, can we just start teaching, like, the basics? Can we just, ensure that people have the skills to begin with, rather than just throw money at somebody for a course that
That's the
they're not
knowledge
going to
too, right?
apply?
That's your job, is teaching them, giving them
Right.
the knowledge to do that.
Right. Right. But it's gimmicky. It's gimmicky when you see
Yeah.
it. It's very like flashy in your face. You're waving around money to people who probably really need it or really need to
Mm-hmm.
have a change, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to be aware. Be aware of what you're doing and take the time to research things yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you skip that part, I guarantee you will fall into one of these, loops of never ending. You can do this and that and that, and then you get, bombarded with things. So yeah.
I think if you completely eliminate all of these platforms and just get a website, you can do webinars, you could teach classes.
Yes.
That's also a really
Yes.
productive way of generating income and making those
Yes.
contacts.
Yes.
More and
And
more
what
people are
you're
using them.
Yes, and I totally agree, and thank you for saying that. Like, you've had a website longer than
Methuselah,
myself,
been a
longer
long
than
time.
yeah, you had because you were on it. But you know what? Let's
Mhm.
talk about it though, because you're right. These platforms end up owning your content. And do you remember
Mhm.
when Instagram went down for 2 days and everyone was losing their mind?
Yeah.
Imagine only having a store that's doing really well only on Instagram, and then that platform dies for 2 days. What are you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do? How do people reach you? How can you get orders through? This is
Mm-hmm.
why I tell people all the time. I said, even if it's not a fancy website, you having a page up where people can refer to you and contact you is
Mm-hmm.
better than only having an Instagram
One
account.
page. One page
Yeah.
is all you need for people to get a
Yeah.
hold of you one way or another. I agree with you.
Yes. Yes.
I agree with
And
you.
it's your domain. You own your domain. As long as you're paying that bill every year, you own your domain, you own your content.
Mm-hmm.
Do not rely on this. And this is really good, I guess, of a business model for the network as well. There's a
Mm-hmm.
reason why they stream to so many places. And there's a reason why we don't only rely on one platform, because
Mm-hmm.
the efforts combined would probably be a lot better if you were to focus on one platform, but it's not good planning for the future. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, what if that account gets banned? What if that account gets suspended? What if that account takes your content down? What if somebody hacks you? I had somebody who I know personally. She had 30,000 followers on Instagram, and she is a really great makeup brand that's Canadian, which is, I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of them, but she had a huge following. And she had Russian hackers hack her account, and she lost it. 30,000 people. And remember, that's where her store was. And I think she has one on her website now. But imagine just being in that situation where you've
Mm-hmm.
based your entire business model in somebody else's business, because that's
And
what
yeah,
Instagram is.
it is. And also remember that hacking is a business for some people out
Yeah.
there. So you
Yeah.
risk yourself no matter what. So you really have to make sure that whoever does your site or wherever you host your site,
Sure.
especially the hosting,
Sure.
that they're right on it. Because I had a guest on my show, and he had over 360, I think, followers on TikTok. Misinformation. We're in an age of censorship, and he got taken down.
Wow. 360,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Wow.
luckily he had a website. But this is how
Yeah.
he got his word out, and
Sure.
man, gosh, it goes to show you it doesn't take much. If somebody sees you doing well, there's always somebody behind you kind of going, there's an easy way to
Yeah.
do this, or there's always
Yeah.
competition. Always
No, I know.
competition.
It's what is it? The Italians with the malocchio, right? With the evil eye. It's kind of like you never
That's
know who's watching,
that's true.
because they're just sending you bad vibes, whether it's,
It's true. It's
competition,
true.
or envy, or whatever the
Intention
case
is
may be.
very, very, it's a thing.
Yes.
It's a
Yes,
thing,
yes.
intention.
Before we go on, I just wanted to say hi to everybody that's just tuning in. We're about halfway through here. And you are listening to Negotiating Happiness. I'm your host, Adriana, and I'm here with my guest, Michelle Desrochers, today. And we are live on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And we are talking about how to experience success in business beyond the traditional workspace, right? We've talked about consulting. We've talked about being able to travel, so working remotely, and how to kind of achieve some of those milestones as you're planning it out. And it doesn't have to be remote, right? We've had viewers talk about, even opening up a cleaning business or something that will make you some extra cash in order to invest back into maybe whatever your dream might be. Right. So yeah, it's great that we have this ability with this technology, but I think if I were to do it again, which I'm going to ask you that question too, if I'm going to do it again, I would stop listening to absolutely everybody and just going with my gut.
You know what? Yes, you are your most important commodity. I think you need to just sit back and you need to be realistic as to what you can do. We used to do ghost tours and I used to do large ghost events, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And all I needed really at that time was just an email.
Yeah.
And so like you say, it goes back to having it just like a page, right? So
Yeah.
you had an email and you could make things work. And over time, word gets out there. If you providing a good enough service, you can really start watching the work come your way because it snowballed. For me, I left one tour and ended up just doing so many other things pertaining to that. But I think, again, it comes down to research because I've had people come to me and say, we want to start a tour in our city, like a historical tour or a ghost tour or whatever the case may be. And I'm just like, well, then you really need to cram and find out the history of your area, of your city, wherever you're going to do these tours. And if you want to do a haunted tour, then go and talk to the people who are in this city or who live in this area and get yourself some stories based on testimonials. So because I'll tell you, like when we did the city I was in, we eventually had the tourism industry of that city come up to us with a whole lot more information. City Hall used to come up and give us all this crazy information. And then when we did the large location in Toronto, they came, to us initially, and I stayed on when the city took over the whole thing and just went go crazy, because I think if you build yourself up to be reputable and you are engaging, this is where the one-on-one comes in, and you have to be approachable. And that's a compliment I used to always get. You're very approachable. We understand how you say things, because even on television, sometimes people would speak in these scientific terms, or my biggest compliments are always, you put it in a way that we can understand.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. I just want to go back really quickly to what you said about testimonials, because I feel like I have this conversation with my clients all the time. And it comes from not understanding what you're explaining. So you being approachable and you telling your story and putting yourself out there, it creates a story of what your business is about. And that's what people are buying. That's what people want to hear. So that you can then take that and convert it into copy for your website. So I keep saying, I said, so in order for people to understand that you're not just making this up, testimonials are important, speaking to the people, getting feedback, because the first couple of times you might do something you're not probably the best, but you can only improve from there, right? If you're open to it. But it's exactly what you said that is really important, that people are now starting to understand more and more is, conversion copy. How do you get somebody's 3 seconds of attention that's on your homepage to then want to know more enough to contact you to say that this is somebody that I actually want to work with? It's exactly what you said. You have to tell your story. You have to explain not only it's like, do you market the features or the value or the benefits? Right?
I think both. I think it's all of the above, because we made a point, when I went off on my own, I made a point of making sure you had the backing of your community. We had the backing of our city hall. So basically the city, we had the backing of the tourism, which is really big because that was the industry we were catering to, was tourism. We had an establishment that a lot of these tours started from, We had the
Mm-hmm.
backing of that that establishment. The people of that establishment would in turn come out and say, "Oh yeah, we had this happen. We had this happen," or "Yes, this is the history of this person. This is all
Mm-hmm.
correct information," because you will
Mm-hmm.
be challenged. So
Yeah.
I think
Oh
if
yeah.
if you're going to put information on your site, you're selling yourself as much as you are your business. So you need to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that everything syncs and you are very much a part of that. You're not just
Yeah.
sitting in the background
Right.
and
Right.
and
But
I make
see,
sure
sorry, go ahead.
no, anybody who worked with me was the same.
Yeah.
We all versed in what we did. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. I never had to say anything with people working with me. You could tell by my, no, my look or no,
I
everybody
love
just,
that.
it's true. Everybody knew what to
True.
do. I didn't have to say
Yeah.
anything. And that's how a well-oiled machine should work. And you have to look
Right.
at yourself as it should run
Yeah.
like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, it also depends. It also depends on your audience of who you're talking to, right? Because what you're saying is it's not like you had a page that said we do tours. No, what you had
No,
was we do research and we
everything.
explain what the stories are. This is what you're going to get out of it. That is you
Mhm.
marketing the value and the benefit,
Photographs,
right? And you have photographs, you have testimonials. So
historical stuff,
yeah,
everything.
yeah. You're selling yourself very differently. Now, if you're just going to have a little postcard or like a brochure type where you have to cram in as much information as you can because you're talking to, let's say, a producer or somebody who's already in the industry and understands, then yes, then you market the features. So you'd
Mhm.
say, we do tours, we do Q&A, we do follow up on historical facts, blah, blah, blah.
Education.
So you're doing this, you're doing communication, you're doing all of this. So then
Mhm.
they go, oh, you're the vendor that I want because of XYZ. But if you're talking to the general public, you do the story.
Mhm.
You explain what you get out of it and how and why maybe this solves some sort of problem or curiosity that you've
Mhm.
been wondering about, right? So there is a way to go about these things and to be creative that I think people uh, don't necessarily understand because people just put up content now. They just slap whatever it
Well,
is on
they
there.
don't even put up their content anymore. They put up other
Right,
people's content and make a
right,
website look good with other people's
right.
content. I think when I say get the support of your community, because it looks good on a website to say we are endorsed by blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
blah. If
yeah.
you're getting somebody like in my case, you're into the field of high strangeness, we wanted to give that element of, oh, something may just, grab you in the
Mhm.
middle of in the middle of this
Right,
thing, or you
right.
may end up getting
You
this
one can only hope,
photographic.
right? Yeah.
One can only help, or we'll teach you how to do this, this, and this. Or
Yeah.
there was a lot of, you want to make it interactive as well. It's not just leading one place to another place to another place. We were
Yeah.
always very interactive. But I mean, that was just one aspect of many things that
Mhm.
that I've done. And now, I've retired from film. I think the last thing I did was a documentary probably about 3 years ago, which is still in the process of being put together to go to air soon.
Right.
And now I consult. I do aside from the Outer Realm, and I
Yeah.
do a lot of other people's shows. I've
Mhm.
just retired from film, being in front of a television camera because I'm
Right.
tired.
You're tired. I did it once with you, and that was a very interesting experience for me, I have to say. And I don't know, and watching it back, it's very weird to have somebody else try to portray your experience on film when
And
it's not you.
no, and people get very judgmental because I've had people go after the poor woman in the one series that I did. Looks nothing like Michelle. What does she think she's doing? And I was just like, oh, that's terrible. Leave the poor woman alone. They changed her up. They changed her up afterwards, like in the
Oh my
following
god.
season. I'm thinking
Yeah.
that's not fair. But people
Yeah.
love you and people hate you. But when they love you, they
It
they
could
really
go either way. Like
good.
it could go either way on the spectrum. It's just very interesting to see how little creative control you have
You
on
have
some of
none.
these things, right? Like
You have
film
none.
and media, they're a little
No,
bit crazy.
you have
Um
none.
yeah, and it kind of robs you in your industry, I have to say, it kind of robs you of the authenticity, right? Because if you say something like it was pretty freaky because XYZ happened. It then ends up getting translated to, I thought I was going to die. And
It's true.
I started bleeding from my ears and blah, blah. Like it's so embellished that you're like, okay, you're taking away from my credibility.
The
Like I have
whole
a problem with
world
that.
for a while there probably thought I ran around thinking everything on the planet was a demonic being.
Right.
Meanwhile,
Right.
I'm just like, psychokinesis. I have, I'm pretty logical. I will come up with different things, but
Right.
you from having been in this situation
Yeah.
that you can say 5 different things to one point or one question, and the only one that's going to end up on screen is the most dramatic, the one
It's
that will
fear
sell.
inducing. It's the problem with this industry is that it has to induce fear, or else they think that
It's a
people,
formula.
yeah, they won't produce the adrenaline to keep them hooked
It
and
doesn't.
going. It,
Every
no.
network through every stage in time, because the times change, have a formula.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they all have to follow the narrative. And
Yep.
then when you try to throw something in there, people are just like
Mhm.
up in arms. And I know this
Mhm.
because I was asked to create. I had a production company come to me and say, and they did films for Netflix, everything. They're very, very reputable. And I had retired. And they said, well, if you would film again, what would it be? I said, so
Mhm.
you're asking me to create you a TV series.
Right.
It took me 10
Right.
minutes.
Yeah.
I created a TV series, and you know what? And where live and learn, I didn't want to be in front of the camera, but I knew what they were going for. I said it would have been nice for you to at least give me creative mention, and
Credit. Yeah.
that thing got sold. And I'll tell you right now, I can't say the name, but it
Yep.
is on air right now in the US, and it's probably into its 5th season now. I'm honored.
Wow.
I am
Wow.
humble and honored that it was good enough to swipe and sell, but it didn't matter. I'm happy to just give me the darn credit,
Yeah.
because you wouldn't have done it on your own, clearly, because you were grasping,
Right.
right?
But
So that
at the end of the day, what we can take out of this with entrepreneurship is that everything is a business,
Mhm,
and you have to continuously think of that way. So everything is a transaction.
mhm,
Networking makes it a little bit more enjoyable if you actually make
mhm,
connections with people. But you're right. At the end of the day, it's an exchange of information. What do you get from
mhm,
it? Or does the, person get from it? And film is just special because there's like a whole other third party that it relies on, which is the audience, right?
yeah,
So they're trying to cater to an audience, but they're a business at the end of the day.
mhm,
And they also, make poor decisions and maybe have, ethically they may not be on board at all times, which is really sad because of creators like yourself that have the
mhm.
experience and the know-how and the
Mhm.
ideas, but they are these giant corporations that do what they're going to do anyway, right?
But some of them sell it so well that, I mean, I actually had hate mail over a show that I commented on, of a story. And I'm like, you do realize this is television, and half of what I said didn't even show up on,
Right.
right? They take little bits
Right.
and pieces. And oh my God, that woman got attacked. All, fans went after her. And I was just like, I had to delete the post. I was just like, oh my God, this is not what I was going for.
Right.
But it's like, but there are people out there who truly believe some of the things that they watch, to the point of it is the written word. No, no, it's not, because you
Mhm.
only get a fraction, and I know, because I have friends who are filmmakers, and they still
Mhm.
say, like, what ends up on the cutting room floor and what goes to air are two entirely different things. So
Yeah.
working with a really good producer, I've been fortunate to work with really incredible producers, and I mean, I still get asked by these production companies, even now, these film houses, well, we're creating this new thing. I'm just like, nah. I am, I am
Like,
really,
I've
I'm
been down this
retired.
road.
I know.
I've been down
I'm
this road
good.
before.
Yeah, I have filled entire
Yeah.
seasons for creators of content and connections and people that they could interview, and I'm just like, I'm a little bit more, let's just say I've narrowed down what I'm willing to do.
Right.
and who I'm willing
Right.
to do it with.
Yeah. So we're 10 minutes out, but I have two questions left. And one of them is if somebody pretend that somebody that is, trying to get into this business and they're new at this, what is one piece of advice that you would give to them?
Don't. No. No, it's a hard business. It's a hard business.
Yes.
My advice would be where I started, basically, was learn as much as you can, make good contacts, and you do that by having integrity. In this business, have integrity because there's a big lack of it.
Mm-hmm.
There
So
really is.
that's
It's
what will set you apart.
dog eat dog. It really is, and that is one thing that has been consistent in this business of media. It's a lot of who you know, because if you can get your foot in the door that way, then prove yourself. And how do you prove yourself? Have your integrity and know your stuff.
Right. Right. That makes sense. It's kind of, really good principle of business is what sets you apart from your competitor. You're saying integrity because there's so much of the other stuff around,
There is, and there's a lot of competition, and somebody just feels that they don't want you to do it. It's enough. Social media now and the internet, things go out there and it's hard. You can't get it off there, whether it's accurate or not.
Yes.
So just
they are amplifiers for sure. And fortunately, they amplify both the true and the fake and all the other stuff. Yeah, I agree. I agree for that. My last question, which I like to ask my guests, is for Michelle, the individual, not Michelle, the mom, the business owner, the partner, the sister, what do you do for yourself that makes all of this crazy entrepreneurship worthy? So sometimes, people will be like, I wake up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym. And I'm like, wow, that's what makes you happy. We are very different people, but good for you.
I'm with you on that one, Adriana. What? No.
What are you talking about?
No.
Yeah. But I just want to know, people want to get to know the person. So what makes this all crazy journey worth it to you? Like, what do you do for yourself?
Family for me. And I stress that even with a lot of the people I work with and a lot of the hosts here, because we're over 30 shows here. And I always say family first. And I mean it. I practice what I preach. It's family first. So everything else plays second fiddle to family. So I like to spend time with my family. But believe it or not, though, my downtime, I research.
Oh no, another type A entrepreneur that's being all type A. That's weird.
I know. I can't help it. If I'm just sitting there, I have to research something. I just have to read. I love to read.
Yeah.
I love to learn. And people send me a lot of stuff. So it takes me a while to get through it, but I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So
that's really good. And for those of you that don't know, Michelle is also an avid advocate for dog rescuing and animal rescue in general.
I am. We have 3 Chihuahuas, and they're all rescues. And one of them, she can't see. Her mind isn't that from a stroke anymore. And we basically went from syringe feeding her to now she's a little tank, but she can't see, she can't walk. But we just do. We've rescued parrots. I've rescued, dogs, cats, and I know.
That's adorable. You do a lot more than research, but that's nice to know.
I do. I play with my Chihuahuas.
Yeah.
I know.
They're a little loud sometimes, but they're really cute when they're all like, they try to get up and, be like, I'm a big dog. I know, they're like this big, like I'm a big dog over here.
I know, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I love that, Heidi. I do.
Yeah.
Never stop seeking knowledge because there's a lot that's been kept from you. So keep reading.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you so much to everybody in the chat room. Yeah, you guys have been super into it. I'm really glad to hear Michelle got some really great tips for her side hustles, and Heidi goes, oh, she said, I love animals, which is cute.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Get your priorities straight and everything else will fall into place. Positive vibrations. Frequency. As
Mm-hmm.
Nikola Tesla once said, it's all about frequency and vibration. What you put out there will come back to you. And it does.
And it's all connected with intention. I say this all the time too.
Yes.
And, when you're doing something, even in your business, do it with intention. If you're just trying to do it to just kind of slap it on the wall, see what sticks, that's not always the best approach to it. And I have to say that even in my industry, getting to know people over online has been okay, but there are people that you're like, oh wow, you seem like such a nice and wholesome channel, and you seem like you're so outgoing, and then you actually speak to them and you're like, wow, I would never have these conversations with you in real life. And then you do end up meeting some really nice people that are always there. And one of them is Brittany. She's also a host on the channel. I literally met her through Instagram. So I can't knock social media all the time. It is an amplifier. It depends on what you're putting out there. Yeah.
It's great. It's great. I think you have to take the best of everything that's made available to you. And the power of manifestation, you see a lot of these motivational speakers out there that talk about manifestation. I truly, again, it comes with just having that frequency, putting that out there and manifesting what you want. And I have met people who've been on my show like, oh no, I just manifested this. One woman lived out in Ireland in this big old beautiful house and does amazing entrepreneur stuff. And she goes, I just manifested it. How?
Yeah. I haven't I think it's all scientific if you think about it.
Yeah.
If you put it out there and if you imagine it and you do some work into figuring out the do's and the don'ts and the pathways, it's like you're rewiring your brain to think as if you're already on that path. So I do think that the science and the woo, the spiritual marry themselves at one point to make things happen for you, right? Because we are such a complicated being. We have a brain and we like to do things with logic, but also sometimes we go with our gut, right? Like there has to be balance. So I do think that manifestation is
yes, Adriana, follow your gut instinct. It will not let you down. If it doesn't feel right, listen to yourself. You're a machine, but you have this incredible energy inside of it, and it doesn't let you down. You have a combination of a powerhouse.
It gets better once you're going to laugh, because I feel like you've told me and Mel this a bunch of times about listening, but the more you listen, the easier it'll get to kind of, weed it out. But at the beginning, it's a lot of noise, right? So, but go with your gut. Go with your gut. But we're here at the end. Of course, the hour flew by. So I just wanted to say I've pasted the links where you can find Michelle in the chat, and you'll see it in the summary as well. You can go to michelledesrochers.com, and she's got all her links there as well. Tune into Wednesdays and Thursdays for the Outer Realm Radio. If you like to hang out in the chat room, there's always a good bunch in Michelle's show there in the chat room, and you get to learn about all kinds of cool things. It's so cool. And thank you so much for taking the time, Michelle, to come on.
You're very welcome.
I mean, it's about time. I'm getting to it. You know what I mean? I was like, I need to get Michelle on here. You keep
that's my life. So, but I mean, you think about it, real quick, is I went from running an oil company to being, I did a complete 180 and I'm into media, which is where I settled.
Yeah.
You could do anything.
It can be done. This is literally the reason why.
Yes.
This is literally the reason why I pitched this show to you, because I wanted to show the different things that people can do. So this is awesome. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Also, I appreciate the platform that we have here. We're always live on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And thank you all again in the chat room for making this hour fly by. Have a great one, everybody. And we will see you next week.